Bo Henriksen's MAINZ were hosting Dino TOPMOLLER's Eagles, the Adler. Attila, Attila is the hawk that if you go to the Val Stadion, you can go see Attila because she's brought out before the game. Anyway, we head to MAINZ, to the Mauer Arena, to see how they got on against Frankfurt. Now, the implications of this game, by the way, is that there's European spots. And again, this is match day 32, so with 3 games to go, or 2 after this one, there are implications for European places. There's the Champions League, Europa League, and a Thursday night Pat Nevin Special Conference League, all up for grabs. Frankfurt will come into this game in 3rd, whilst MAINZ, they've slipped off lately all the way down into 7th. 8 points separated the two sides going into this game. No, 8 points? 5 points, separated the two sides going into this game. MAINZ then, under Bo Henriksen, 3-4-2-1 formation. Different goalkeeper. No Robin Zentner. It was Rees. Don't know much about him. Let's have a quick look. Lasse Rees. No, he might have a dog called Lassie, but no relation to the dog as far as we know, the famous talking dog. So Lasse Rees in goal, back 3 of Dominic Kerr, Andras Hanch Olsen and Danny Da Costa, the lightning bolt Danny Da Costa. The 4 in front of them in midfield, again, they're wing backs. It's Philip and Wenny on the left. It's Anthony Cassie, the Frenchman, on the right. There's Nadim Amiri in the hard-working Japanese Kaisho Sano stitching that midfield together. And ahead of them, you've got, I can never get his name right, so let's get it right this time. Jae Sung Lee, there you go. Jae Sung Lee playing alongside Paul Niebel, who's got a bright future. And then they're trying to feed more goals to Johnny BURKARDT. That's your minds lined up. We take a look at Frankfurt, the Adler, the Eagles, a 3-4-2-1. So it's a mirror match in effect. Kevin Trapp back in goal, which is great to see. A back 3 of Arthur Tete, the Belgian. Next to him is Robin Koch. Robin Koch, by the way, has been nominated for the, and I can't quite get my head around this, he's been nominated for the EAFC Bundesliga Player of the Month. There you go, look, see? You can vote on the FC25 website. There's your choice of 5 candidates for the Player of the Month. So that's great, isn't it, for Robin Koch? Or Koch, however you want to pronounce it. And alongside him is Tuta, the Brazilian. Now, in front of that 3 is therefore Nathaniel Brown on the left, Rasmus Christiansen, the Gypsy, on loan from Leeds of the Midlands on the right. And in that midfield too, you've got the Swede, Hugo Larsson, and then the scary one, Ellis Skerhi, next to him. And then you've got a front trio of Jean Matteo Bohoya. It was his birthday the other day. Clap that one in for Jean Matteo Bohoya. And he's playing alongside Ansgar Knauf. Now, Knauf, he scored a brace last time out. There's a €23 million, that's billing it, €23 million bid on his head, apparently, by Arne Slot of Liverpool. And up front, ultimate bagsman this season for Frankfurt, who's got a lot of weight on those thin, agile shoulders. Hugo Ekitike, the Frenchman, once of PSG. He was leading the line. How did this game go? Well, it ended up being 1-1. Yeah, 1-1. An early goal by the Gypsy, Rasmus Christiansen. It was an assist by Hugo Ekitike. That was on the 16th minute. Pretty quiet game then, up until just before the hour mark, where Johnny BURKARDT scored off his knee. Yes, it sort of looped in over Kevin Trapp to make it 1-1. A flurry of substitutes. Actually, well, yeah, there was, yeah. We saw Can Uzan. He got another game off the bench. Again, the Turkish/German's got a bright future ahead of him, the attacking midfielder for Frankfurt. Faraz Chaibi, also very young, he came on for Bohoya for the birthday boy. His birthday, like I say, was the other day, May 7th. And it finished 1-1. Quick look at the data then. For Rasmus Christiansen, that's his first and only goal of this season for the Danish right back. Hugo Ekitike, no goals this time round. He has got 15 for the season, by the way, and 7 assists, because of course there was an assist for Christensen's goal. So that's 22 goal involvements so far for Ekitike, who's leading that line on his own. He'll be missing Omar Mamouche, who is really making an impact for Manchester City. They've currently, on a side note, slipped silently up into third in the Premier League. Back to this game, Johnny BURKARDT scored again, even though I don't think he knew much about it. That's his 16th goal this season. He has 2 assists, so that's 18 goal involvements for the 24-year-old Johnny BURKARDT, who has represented Die Mannschaft as recent as the UEFA Nations League quarter-final against Italy. Played 45 minutes in the San Siro. And then MAINZ, just to cap this one off, he's the most goals for a MAINZ player in a single season. Most goals in a single season for a MAINZ player. Johnny BURKARDT was 16. That puts him ahead of Shinji Akazaki, who sounds like he belongs in the Yakuza. I worked on that game as a side note in my 20-year career in video games. Shinji Okazaki and Andre Schürrle and Jean-Philippe Mateta, currently of Crystal Palace, who are going to be in the FA Cup playing Manchester City. And who manages Crystal Palace? Philip Glasner. Philip Glasner, once of SVR Rieder in Austria. We went there last summer. It was brilliant. Philip Glasner also on the shortlist to take over at RB Leipzig alongside Como's... Yes, go on in, Gonzo. Oh, I'll do it for you then. Alongside Cesc Fabregas, ex-Arsenal and iconic player, doing well actually at Como. He's got a bit of money to spend, but he's doing well in the Serie A. And Thierry Henry. So that's your 3 candidates up for the RB Leipzig job full-time next season. And I always call this guy out, Kaisho Sano, is hard working, and he hasn't scored this season, no assists, because he's doing that Maxi Eggesteiner ugly work. Again, Max Eggesteiner, Freiburg, not an ugly player, not an ugly person, just does the ugly work, does it very effectively. As you can see, Keisho Sano is averaging 1.8 tackles and 1.8 interceptions per game, and 1.6 clearances and 0.4 blocks, so he's really putting the work in as a defensive midfielder. And as he's passing, he's not too bad either. Look, you see 0.6 key passes per game, and he's averaging a 6.91, which, you know, we're always looking for 7 pluses. To be fair, though, is in a MAINZ team that's overachieved but have slipped off lately. There you can see the table. Now, the post-game, with that being the 32-game match wrapped up, you can see, again, there's an 8-point difference between MAINZ and Frankfurt. There's 4 points, though, between MAINZ and Freiburg. So for MAINZ, then, going into the last 2 games, and they are, so MAINZ are away at Bochum, who, it's a fucking must-win game for Bochum, from Rise Footy Paradise. If they don't win, they are down. Last 2 games, they've come away with 2 consecutive draws, and they're literally clinging on for dear life. For Bochum, it's all about how Holstein Kiel and Frank Schmidt's Heidenheim going to perform. But for MAINZ, they've got to go and win away at Bochum. Again, I'm calling out the fact that Bochum are in a scrap, because if they lose, they're down. So that's going to raise the stakes and put the pressure on both teams. And then MAINZ host Leverkusen in the final day of the season on Saturday, May 17th, in a game that Leverkusen just need to draw in order to bag that record of 34 consecutive away games unbeaten. They're currently on 33, which is a record itself. It's an equal record. But again, MAINZ will need to win that game, so that's a feisty game in itself. Even though Leverkusen, like I say, have given up. They've had to give up the Bundesliga. The Meisterschaft will be presented actually the following day on the 18th in Munich at Mariannaplatz, where the men and the women will celebrate their achievements this season. So for MAINZ, though, they need to win and hope other teams basically don't. And in Frankfurt, again, Frankfurt are in third, so there's no worry about second and first, because that story within the story has been taken care of. For Frankfurt, though, on 56 points, they're 4 clear of Freiburg. And Freiburg, again, on the cusp of history because, yes, Freiburg have played in Europe before. They've been in the Europa League as recently as 23, where I believe they were knocked out in the end by West Ham. Declan Rice was in that team. Actually, no, he wasn't. He'd already gone to join the Arsenal. Declan Rice, by the way, Arsenal's best player by a mile this season. He did give away that foul for that opening goal, but you'd have needed 2 David Reyes to stop that Fabian Ruiz shit pinger, thunderbolt, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, back here, Freiburg again, historic. Could be it is a historic season, right? Because previously they finished as high as 6th. That was in 22, which is what put them into the Europa League. And that same season they got beat by Leipzig in the DFB Pokal final. But for Julian Schuster's team, they're putting the pressure on Frankfurt because they want to, they need to put some distance between themselves and Dortmund and Leipzig and fuck off Mainz so they can get into the Champions League. Frankfurt, their last 2 games, they host St. Pauli themselves down at the bottom. Look, they're joint, they're on 31 points, so they're joint 14th effectively with Hoffenheim. There's only a 5-point gap, by the way, between Heidenheim and Hoffenheim. Hoffenheim, it feels like with 2 games to go, just need a point. Even if Frank Schmidt pulls another rabbit out the hat and manages to produce 2 consecutive wins, it wouldn't matter because they would go down. Well, actually, they wouldn't go down, would they? Technically, they would take place in the grueling, drama-fueled, dirty playoff relegation game, which potentially at the minute is not with Magdeburg, is it? Who's it with? It is with... Is it Paderborn? Yeah, anyway. So Hoffenheim just need a point out of their next 2 games to be pretty much safe. Frankfurt, like I said, they're hosting St. Pauli, who would need to do the same, right? Yeah, it's interesting down there. And then Frankfurt go away to Freiburg. How is that for a grandstand finish to the season? Both teams competing to go into the Champions League next year. Depending on how they get on in match day 33, it could be an absolute wow, 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 wow. Could be a showdown, couldn't it? Showdown in the Black Forest. Who knows? With 2 games to go. All right, the title's been resolved. Congratulations again to Bayern Munich. Leverkusen on track for a record 34 unbeaten away games, but there's still up for grabs. There's still places up for grabs in Europe. And the relegation has not quite been resolved, but it will be. A lot of permutations on this weekend. Anyway, Frankfurt, Mainz, that was 1-1. What do you make of that game, by the way? And what's your take on the season that Bo Henriksen's had? Because again, they have done well in the past with their famous managers in Thomas Tuchel, and before that was Jurgen Klopp. So they're a team that's done well. It feels like Mainz are punching above their weight. But if other results go their way and they can squeeze more goals out of Johnny BURKARDT, they could very well end up in the Champions League. There could be a Conference League, a Pat Nevin Thursday night special on the cards as a bare minimum. As for Frankfurt, it feels like, even a couple more draws potentially could see them in the Champions League again next season. What do you think? Let us know your thoughts in a comment down below. Please like and subscribe and tell your friends. If you can, tell your friends while you're playing football down the park, recreating some of the action that's taken place in match day 32. It's not a vanity play. I could just do with the support. You help me, I help you. Aha! Everybody wins. Right, we're going now anyway. Love you lots. Take care. Ciao, 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 ciao for now.